Hello, this is a furry named Nico. Before I start off with everything, I do want to give like two slight points to my original video in order to like make some small corrections. First off, is I could have explained my point with the extended turnarounds better. Uh, my point was that although that is Alex Yard's strongest point, especially with the elaboration he gives in his main channel video. I also don't think because of how general he describes it, he would be able to make a compelling case for the extended turnarounds being copyrightable. And secondly, I'm not a legal expert. I think people kind of already got the idea, but just don't take it as anything major. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more concise. I made a response originally, however, it was already approaching like half an hour. I didn't want to go that far. So as a small explanation of what has happened since that original video, I ended up actually talking with him on Discord. We had a call for 2 hours. He challenged me to find some songs of certain condition. In my pinned comment, I gave the response to that. He then ended up getting mad at me because he found out I had other issues with him, and I was trying my best to not necessarily to push it under the rug, but because I found that was unnecessary to focus on when it came to the music theory. However, he wouldn't talk to me if I didn't talk about it, so I ended up talking about it. And after like some arguing, he ended up saying that I gave the appearance that I was autistic because I had no sense of priority, which was an insane thing to say. So I said, "Hey, that's kind of insane. That's ableist." Um, and then he doubled down on it, and since then I haven't really interacted with him since like July, so it's been like approaching a month now. However, he made this video in which he tries to jump ahead to the past documentary about Alex Shard, and there's like an entire 4-minute section dedicated to me, and I'm thinking like, wow, how generous. So this video is just going to be trying to respond to that. Hopefully I will be concise, but either way, let's just jump into it.
Enough. That's why we're now moving on to the final topic, the furry named Nico. This topic is probably the strangest because Nico had previously objected to me warning people about some of Undertale's more creepy content and disrespectful elements. I make efforts to get the word out about the oral sex font in Undertale, since that font is used to display the player's name in this game that's rated E for everyone. But the furry named Nico just wanted a cover-up, telling me, nope, you're not allowed to talk about that anymore. But this is a broader pattern. Nico also denies the rape allegory in Deltarune Chapter 4 because it's all subtext with no narrative spoon-feeding. Now, Nico's autism will become relevant to this incident in a broad pattern of Nico's inability to read in between the lines. Now,
Okay, so we'll get to the autism thing later. However, he's referring to two specific situations. The first one is his criticism of Toby Fox because of a font he used called Mars needs cunnilingus. Essentially, he doesn't try to say this explicitly. He says that Toby Fox just has certain sexual boundaries that Alex Yard doesn't agree with. However, it seems very clear that he thinks that Toby Fox is putting kids in danger for having the character name in this font, and that has led to him making some weird tweets. This is just one of them. Have you played Mother for Game Boy Advance? See how it's in all capital? Mother. So cool. Like Deltarune. Mom, mommy, mom, mother. Toby is the most cunning linguist in all of Japan. His wordplay. I inhabit the word cunnilingus every time I play Undertale. You do too. What? But that's besides the point, because he then excuse the thread perspective here, but he went on to say, for a guy who's supposedly very private, lately the creator of Deltarune won't shut the fuck up about his mother. Toby, if she needs cunnilingus, stop teasing her. Just deliver. That makes me do a double take every time I read it. Enough with the socks and cutesy feedback on composition dailies. To which I requote tweet, it feels like at some point the focus on cunnilingus from this guy constitutes sexual harassment. To which Alex Yard then replies, you make it seem like Toby did not intentionally put the oral sex font as the player's name for everyone who plays the game. Fuck you, Nico. Your hush-hush impulse is a chronic illness in the Deltarune community. Which, I already explained this to him. I'm not in the Deltarune community, but that's besides the point. And I make my point with how Toby Fox's comment about fonts being important for Undertale is more likely about how each character has their own font, and so specific fonts use signal with different people. I really don't think he was referring to sex, let alone saying gamers of all ages should do it. And that is my overall point when it comes to that. And he ended up arguing with me more, including accusing me of putting kids in danger because of this. But my overall point is that at the most, what a kid is going to do is that they're going to search up what font was used for the UI, find Marsden's cunnilingus, search up that word because they don't know it, figure out its NSFW, and then probably go on with their day. That's the worst case scenario that I could think of, because I ended up in similar situations, and obviously, I don't think I ended up being harmed. I don't think I was groomed. I don't think any of that happened. I think I turned out fine for the most part. So that's I just don't think this is like an issue. And then with regards to the rape allegory scene, I was very careful in how I responded to this because I don't play Deltarune. Again, I'm not familiar with that. I think it's like something in like chapter 4, weird route, something with like a rose or something. I don't fucking know. Again, I don't play it. I don't know. My concern was when he made a tweet saying Reggie Fils-Aimé needs to be more honest about stuff like Mother 3. Localizing it in the USA could have attracted the wrong type of creep who would be encouraged to escalate the aesthetic in their own unmonitored projects. Secret scene where you rape Noelle, hot spring bathing. In my interpretation, this is Alex Yard warning a big company about a certain successful developer, saying that that developer is going to put in rape scenes without them knowing and telling them to not hire that person. In my opinion, I said libel in my quote retweet. Either way, this is defamatory with the intent of preventing a person from getting a job. In my opinion, this is illegal, or at the very least, unethical. And then this is after the call. He says, this tweet is still up. You haven't acknowledged chapter 4 does have an intentional scene that can be validly interpreted as rape, metaphorical, or literal. And I say, from my research, Toby Fox has changed the scene, so even if it was meant to be interpreted as such, he's changed it so that way he could avoid any potential issues with that interpretation. Because, from my perspective, what it looks like, at the worst, is that Toby Fox tried to put in a sexual assault plot point, people didn't like it, and so he changed it in order to not have that interpretation. At the worst, he just fucked up with sexual assault. That's it. And at the best, based off of what I see from other people talking about this, it seems Alex Yard hasn't even interpreted the scene correctly. So, no matter which way you slice or dice, I think Alex Yard is wrong on this note. But that's besides the point. So, that's like the big points regarding that. And hopefully I didn't take too long explaining all of that.
If autistic people have comprehension struggles, that's totally understandable. But when those same people start disparaging me because I don't agree with them, that's when they begin intruding on other people's spaces, which is what Nico did to me. Because the next thing I know, I learned that Nico had retweeted an accusation that I was somehow irresponsible or culpable with the whole pimp situation. And since that's such a serious allegation, I did the responsible thing. I talked with Nico privately in DMs to field his questions, ease his concerns, and defend my reputation. I explained everything I did and the rules of the Discord, and after talking about it, Nico acknowledged that I had not been negligent or irresponsible in the way that had been alleged, and he took the tweet down, even though Rick D. Tilesets is still harping on that. Nico at least retracted the tweet, and that should have been the end of it, except it wasn't.
So he continues on talking about this, but I do want to give some context. When he says the pimp, he's referring to Pimp Yuiki. I think his real name is like Michael Pisano or something. I don't know. Ask Rick that. But he was a prominent figure within Sonic CD community, especially for his build of Sonic CD Restored. He ended up being exposed for being like a sexual predator and whatnot. And so I was originally under the impression, based on how Alex Yard spoke about this situation, that Alex Yard kind of willfully acknowledged red flags and decided not to kick um, Pimp Yuiki from his Discord server, which I found very questionable. Based on how he talks about it nowadays, or at least how he explained it to me, I believe that he did not intentionally put anyone in danger, at the very least intentionally. Um, However, uh, we'll continue on with this. Also, he makes it seem like he only reached out to me to talk about the Pimp Yuiki stuff when we had already been talking about Spirit Justice in DM. So I'm not entirely sure where that came from.
Then the conversation shifted. Nico said he had problems with the way I told the story of the pimp incident, and now he wants to debate my judgment about the pimp's speedrunning controversy. And that's the moment I lost all patience. Because here I am taking the time to defend myself, humbling myself in front of you, and instead of Nico saying, okay, I was wrong about that, the conversation then turns into an argument about whether I'm being too harsh on the pimp's use of modified software for speedruns and what that means for the legitimacy of the speedrunning leaderboards. Like, Nico, you're seriously defending the pimp on something, on anything? Are you sure this is how you want to use your time with me?
Uh, Sorry, I couldn't contain myself. I like laugh every time I hear that. So just to start things off, first off, we didn't have to talk about that. I only brought up, like, although I have some issues without utility events, I then followed up by saying I was wrong and I was asking you what I could do to correct myself to show that I'm not coming at this in bad faith. You were the one that focused on the fact that I had certain issues with how you told things and wanted me to explain it and argue about it. That was you, not me. So let's just get that out of the way. Secondly, I was not trying to defend Pimp Yuiki's use of modified tech in speedrunning. My issue was that you, in our DMs, had accused Pimp Yuiki of changing the game physics in secret without telling anyone in order to give certain advantages to speedrunners. And in fact, you specifically in your video about Sparky's World have pointed out Drive-In as a speedrunner that Pimp Yugi had been favoring, and basically using that to discredit Drive-In's speedrunning achievements, which I found not only unnecessary, I also found that just insulting, at least based off of the comment that Drive-In had left on that video. Like, it seems like everything he was doing was good, speedrunning wise. I'm not familiar with Sonic speedrunning, let alone Sonic CD Restored specifically, but I am aware of speedrunning in general. So I take that kind of stuff very seriously because a controversy like that would have been fucking national news. But instead, you give no evidence for that. The most you say was that whenever like a new world record was achieved, sometimes first place was really ahead of second place, which is not that uncommon within speedrunning, especially if new tricks are found. Which, according to Drive-In, he was pretty good at finding tricks. So, I I was defending mainly Drive-In. It just so happened that Pimp Yuigi didn't do it, you know? So, I don't know why you're trying to twist this as me defending Pimp Yuigi. I was defending Drive-In. So, let's just get that out of the way. And also, we didn't have to talk about it, but that's another thing.
Why are we suddenly debating the finer points of a speedrunning debacle? And so that's when I informed Nico that he was not ready for the kind of discussion that he was seeking. And since Nico is open about autism as a 20-year-old guy, I identified a pattern of the disadvantage of autism where you don't have a complete sense of priorities to identify what's important versus which small facts are beside the point.
So,
Not regret identifying this problem because it was a private conversation, and the context was that Nico was barging onto my platform and telling me to stop what I'm doing. Rick Tileset's documentary is going to make it seem like I was bullying Nico or trying to embarrass him, but no, not at all. I was defending myself in private in an exhausting exchange of DMs that was going on for a couple hours.
So, again, we didn't have to talk about it. I gave you multiple opportunities. If you want to accuse me of lying about that, I can provide evidence. But also, my autism has no relevance to this discussion. I'll just get that out of the way. Yes, sometimes my autism does inhibit my social skills. However, it clearly didn't inhibit them enough for me to have a 2-hour call with you about spirit justice. It clearly didn't have any relevance to the arguments that we had before. It didn't have any relevance. You only brought it up as a means to dismiss my criticisms of you and to portray me as an idiot. That, in my opinion, is ableist. That, in my opinion, is just rude. It is just rude, frankly, because I didn't bring up any personal qualities about you. You were the one that brought them up first. I was intentionally avoiding that. There were many people that wanted me to bring up other issues that you've had in our calls, so that way we can argue about that. But I didn't want to do that, because I was trying to focus on the music theory first and foremost. Yes, I've had issues with you in the past, but I was trying to be objective. Because, believe it or not, I was trying to give you a fair handshake. You were the one that gave it up, not me. So, also, I don't care if this was in private. If you think this is okay to say in private, I really don't want to know what else you say in private. Because this is rude.
Nico's the one who played the victim and chose to announce our private DMs to everyone. And of course, Tilesets is on the scene to retweet it and just monetize it more like he always does. It's not that Tilesets was literally monetizing the tweets, but he's milking the subject matter of Alex Yard bad in order to build content and get attention for his brand. But the issue at hand was between Nico and myself only. See, furries like Nico fit into the profile of the fandom surrounding Deltarune or the amazing digital circus. These fans are blind to subtext and they will only believe things that are spoon-fed directly into their mouth. This problem has been written about by Danny North, the way the digital circus knowingly preys on the fact that its fandom cannot connect these dots by thinking for themselves to draw conclusions.
Again, this show preys upon the fact that its fandom will believe anything that it tells it and will ignore all of the subtext. And this is why you all think I'm insane, because I don't ignore the subtext. I don't ignore questions.
So I'm pretty sure he only brought up the Amazing Digital Circus because I have a Jack's profile picture on Discord. He in fact made another tweet where, along with this insane thing that I'm not going to read because I end up laughing too much, he tries to say that if I deny either of these things, that I have no business wading into higher stakes complex or whatever. So in terms of Chris Rape Noel, again, even if this was meant to be interpreted as such, Toby Fox has changed the scene in order to avoid that interpretation. Secondly, I don't know where he gets the idea that I deny Jax is trans. He could have asked me. Aside from the fact that I do accept that Jax is trans, that's not relevant. That's never been relevant. I don't know why he's pretending like it's relevant. I don't know why he's doing this. This is stupid. Is this really the response you want to make? Is this the response you want to make? No wonder why you have it unlisted. Jesus.
Because this was not an isolated incident with Nico the furry. He thinks all my reporting about Spear of Justice is wrong because we don't have any surveillance footage of Toby Fox hanging out with his brother that introduced him to the Skyfire song. So, Nico, you're dismissed. Take 5 years to build up your credibility, and then it will be time to reassess.
First off, I already did, actually. I've been posting music since December 2022. So, I'm going to be approaching like 4 years. So, aside from that, I've been building my credibility. Thank you very much. And secondly, My issue was not simply we don't have surveillance drone footage of Toby Fox's brother showing him Skyfire. Aside from the fact that I already brought up my music theory criticisms, my issue was that you gave no reason for Toby Fox to have come into contact with Skyfire for access, which I had emphasized in my original video. You then went on to say that Toby Fox is lying by omission, because the Tumblr post that he had made talking about the process of making Undertale's music did not directly contradict your claims of plagiarism, which, first off, that's not how lying by omission works. And secondly, that would imply you have an idea of when and where Toby Fox could have heard this song. In fact, you seem to imply as such in your response to Shay. Let's see if I can grab a specific point. I think around here is a good start.
What we know about the different versions of this motif is not incompatible with the Skyfire song. There's no conflict of logic. Toby produced the track called Undone, which plays in the tall grass scenes. Then Toby produced the first draft of Spear of Justice, which went unused. And finally, he made the final version that's in the game's soundtrack. Wake up call, guys. The Skyfire composition could have entered Toby's orbit at any point in this process, either before, here, or here. If I was required to place a wager on a game show, I know which of those red arrows I'd be ready to pick.
If I was required to place a wager on a game show, I would know which one of those arrows I'm willing to pick. I might have messed up the exact wording, but either way, that implies he knows when Toby Fox could have gotten into contact with that song. So that would imply then he knows that when Toby Fox could have had access. However, in his main channel video, he avoids talking about how Toby Fox could come into access to his song, and in my discussions with him since, he's deliberately said that he doesn't need to prove access, which is stupid, but that's another thing. So these two claims, like what I've shown you in the Shay response video and what he has since told me, are incompatible with each other. They are directly incompatible with each other. His only evidence since is the musical similarities, which in my original video, I hopefully have demonstrated why those aren't enough for plagiarism. So no matter which way you slice or dice it, Alex Shard is stupid for making this claim. He should retract it. So let's see. How long am I running on this video? 22 minutes. All right. That was better, because by this point, I have been running for half an hour. Yeah, so what are my thoughts on this? First off, I apologize if it still sounded like I was rambling. But secondly, I'm disappointed in this response, if I'm being quite honest. Frankly, I was expecting, like, an actual response to, like, the music theory that I had given. Because I think that, frankly, that's way more dangerous for his career than any of this other stuff, because it directly attacks the foundation that he builds his channel on, that he has experienced in music theory. But he's just given up on that for some reason. I don't know why. And just the response overall that he has given to me is very bad. Just kind of whining that, like, I posted the DM in which he called me autistic as an insult. Yeah, I don't really know how else to put it. This is just sad. This is probably going to be, again, unless Alex Shard wishes to make another video that actually responds to the music theory, this is going to be the last video that I make. This will absolutely be the last video I make. I will be promoting D-Pad's eventual documentary, but other than that, I'm just not going to talk, because there's nothing else really to talk about. Like, what else do I say? Like, we've already rehashed the points that I had argued with him about. We've already... He's not trying to address my music theory, either in my original video or the response to his challenge he gave me. He's not done any of that. So, like, there's no point for me to interact with him anymore, because he doesn't want to actually interact with the music theory. He just wants to complain about other things. So, like, Noah? Anyways, that's all. Thank you very much for watching. Alex Yard, if you're watching this, I hope you talk to your family sometime. Tell them I said hi. Yeah, that's all.